In Augusta today, a so-called day of action. Supporters of a bill that would ban flavored tobacco products in Maine rallying in the State House. Several municipalities in Maine, including Bangor, have implemented a flavored tobacco ban. LD 1215 proposes ending the sale of flavored tobacco, directing enforcement at retailers rather than the consumer. A retailer could be fined $1,000 for a first offense and $5,000 for each offense after that.
Medically speaking, there's no safe amount of nicotine or tobacco. So I think it's a yes-and situation of trying to make education and prevention and discussions happen at all the levels with kids, and that starts with family and continues with community and school.
Bans on flavored tobacco products have also been passed in Portland, South Portland, Brunswick, Bar Harbor, and in Rockland.